Hello, I'm Claire, and this is a 30-minute Hatha sequence focused on lengthening and stretching through the quads and then moving into some back bends. So we're going to get started in a seated meditation, so find yourself into a comfortable seat, relax the hands down onto the thighs, take a deep inhale through the nose and sigh out through the mouth. Close the eyes, close your mouth and let the breath come in and out through the nose. Just take this moment to be still, to allow yourself to arrive onto your mat and into your practice. Take a scan through the body and notice anywhere where you're holding onto tension. Over the next few exhales, try and let that tension go. Notice what's going on in the mind. Perhaps it's quite busy, with thoughts of things that have already happened or things that are yet to come. If you're struggling to slow the mind, try and focus on your breath. Focus on the sound and sensation of that breath, and allow it to anchor you into the present moment. Now think about the reason that brought you to your mat today. It could simply be you just needed to move, to breathe, to ease into your body. It might be that you're here for a bit of headspace, a moving meditation, or you might be working with something a little deeper on a more personal level. Whatever it is, bring it to the front of your mind and let it be your intention. Your mind is inevitably going to wander off, but when that happens, come back to this intention and come back to your breath. Take an inhale through the nose, sigh out through the mouth, drop the chin to the chest, let the head roll from left to right. Start to roll out through the shoulders, wiggle the fingers, and gently blink your eyes open. From here, we're going to roll forwards. We're going to make our way into all fours to find cat-cow. So you want to stack your wrists underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. We're going to take an inhale, lift the tailbone, roll through the spine, lift the head. Exhale, drop the tailbone, round out through the back, drop the head down. And again, inhale, rolling through, roll the shoulders away from the ears, look up to the ceiling. Exhale, round out. So just pay attention to how the back is feeling and how it's moving through these two positions. Is it a smooth and fluid movement? Or maybe it feels a little bit stiff or a bit juddery in certain areas. Try and use the breath to slow the movement and to find a little bit more control. Make this your final round. Come back to neutral. We're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back, find your downward facing dog. Soften your knees, tilt the bottom of the pelvis up to the ceiling and press the floor away with your hands to allow you to find length through the spine and send the chest a little bit closer towards the thighs. Take a deep inhale through the nose, sigh out through the mouth, and again, inhale through the nose, sigh out through the mouth. Take one more deep breath here. And then we're going to drop the knees. We're going to make our way forwards all the way down onto our front. So we're going to take it through two movements. We're going to come through a baby cobra. So the hands are underneath the shoulders are rolling back, the elbows are hugging in. We inhale and lift the head and shoulders. We're not going too high. You should be able to take your hands off the floor and hold yourself here. Stay here for a few breaths. Feeling those two long cables of muscle either side the spine start to engage. And then we're going to press back and find a child's pose. Big toes touch, knees wide, drop the head to the floor. Again, take a few breaths here. We're going to speed up that transition. So we're going to come forwards. We're going to inhale, lift the head and shoulders. Feel the back muscles engage. Take one more breath. As you exhale, shift back, find your child's pose. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, shift the hips backwards. Feel that stretch through the back. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, coming forwards, inhale, lifting up. Again, just taking one more breath here. Exhale, shift back to child's pose. Feeling the stretch down the back of the torso. Take one more round. Coming forwards, inhale, lift up. Feel the strength of the back. And exhale, shift back, child's pose. From here, we tuck the toes, lift back up into downward facing dog, but we're going to start to walk the feet forwards towards the hands to find our forward fold, Uttanasana. Now soften your knees, you're going to grab onto opposite elbow and take a sway from side to side to find your ragdoll. Try and let all the tension drop out of the back muscles here so we can relax the torso onto the legs. Hang through the center, release the grip of the elbows. You're going to nod the head yes, shake the head no, take circles in one direction and then the other. Then from here we're going to soften the knees and roll up through the spine. Head's the last thing to come up. When you reach the top, come and stand to the front edge of your mat. Bring your big toes to touch, heels are slightly apart. Lift the toes up and spread them wide. Roll the shoulders up, back and down, reach the fingertips to the floor, close your eyes. So rooting through the feet so we can rise up through the crown of the head. Feel a lift at the kneecaps or engaging through the thighs. Feel a lift at the base of your pelvis. Almost as if there's a hammock moving from the pelvis up towards the belly button. This is your pelvic floor, which we call Mula Bandha. Feel your tailbone drop down towards the floor. So there's a sense of length through the lower back. There's a gentle lift up and in below the belly button, almost as if someone has their hands on your waist and they're giving you a gentle squeeze. So this is your TVA, transverse abdominis, part of your deeper core. We call it Uddiyana Bandha. Deep inhale through the nose, sigh out through the mouth, and feel the tension drop out of the chest and the rib cage. Keep that breath flowing in and out through the nose. We're going to move into some half sun salutations. Blink the eyes open. Take an inhale, sweep the hands high, look towards your thumbs. Exhale, soften the knees, fold forwards, Uttanasana. Inhale, look forwards, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, hands press to heart center. And again, inhale, sweep high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, press the hands to heart center. One more round. Inhale, sweep high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, hands to heart center. So we're going to come into crescent moon. For this one, we inhale, sweep the hands up. I'm going to take Kali Mudra. So interlace the fingers and release the index finger. Reach the arms up. So we're trying to squeeze the biceps around the ears. We inhale to lift. Exhale, you're going to reach up and over towards the left side. Root down through both feet, but you can shift the hips out towards the right side. And you should get a stretch down right side of the torso, maybe around the pelvis. Inhale, come up to center. Exhale, reach over to the right. Again, allow your hips to shift out ever so slightly, but root down firmly through the feet to keep you grounded. Inhale up through center. This time we're taking a little back bend. So squeeze the glutes, make sure they're fired up. Inhale to lift. Exhale, hips come forwards as we start to take a little back bend. Now we're just warming up, so you don't need to go too far. Still feel your bandhas engage. So Mula Bandha at the base of the pelvis, Uddiyana Bandha below the belly button. And coming back to center, we're going to take that one more time. So squeeze the glutes, feel the core lift. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hips forwards as you start to take that back bend. Just 2 more breaths here. So we don't want to feel that we're dumping into the lower back. That's why we lift up and reach back and press the hips forwards. Now as you come back to center, you're going to drop yourself forwards into Uttanasana, forward fold. You can soften the knees and take a little sway from side to side if that feels good, or you can just hang through the center. Nod the head yes, shake the head no. Release through the neck. Take an inhale, halfway lift. Hands down, we're going to step it back into downward facing dog. Take an inhale, reach the right leg high. Exhale, squeeze the knee to the chest. Plant the foot between the hands, drop the back knee, untuck the toe. Take an inhale, sweep the hands high, either keeping the hands shoulder width apart or taking Kali Mudra one more time. Inhale, reach up and back. Exhale, press the hips forwards. So it's a very similar sensation. Inhale, reach up and back. Exhale, hips go forwards. So you almost want to feel like on that inhale, we're lifting up out of the pelvis. And then exhale, the hips press forwards, not down. And we can feel a little bit more of a hip flexor opening, but also a stretch through the front of the torso as we take that back bend. One more breath here. You're going to release the hands, drop your left hand to the floor, and you're going to rotate through the torso, reach your right hand behind you, squeeze the heel towards the bum and catch a hold of that back foot for a quad stretch. If you struggle to catch a hold of the foot, you can always use a strap here just so that you can reach a little bit further. One more breath. Releasing the back foot. Frame the front foot with your fingertips. You're going to tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, and firm up through the feet. Reach the hands forwards, come up into your crescent lunge. So ground down through the feet. Feel the lift through the bandhas. Take one more inhale. Exhale, ground down, particularly through that front foot. Inhale, we're going to shift the weight forwards as we come into our warrior 3. Flex your left foot and think about dropping the left heel slightly towards the floor. Bring the hands to prayer at heart center. One more breath. Bending your left knee, you're going to draw it in towards the chest. From here, we're going to keep the knee bent, but we're sending the foot behind us. We're going to take our left hand out to the side, palm faces up, right hand reaches high towards the ceiling. You're just going to extend that left arm out and catch a hold of the big toe side of that foot. Bring your thumb and forefinger together on the right hand. Take an inhale to lift up. Exhale, we're going to kick backwards into our left hand as we reach forwards with the right. Dancer's pose, Natarajasana. Fix your gaze on something just above your eye line. Now you should be feeling a back bend, but also a quad stretch here. We've got one more breath. Coming back to center, releasing that left foot. We're just going to fold forwards, finding Uttanasana, maybe ragdoll, whatever feels good for you. You just got one more breath here. Then inhale, find your halfway lift. Exhale, hands plant down, step back into downward facing dog. We're going to take that on the left side. So pick up the left foot, squeeze the knee towards the chest, plant the foot down between your hands, drop the back knee, untuck the toe. Inhale, sweep your hands high, either keeping them shoulder width or clasp them for Kali Mudra. Exhale, hips come forwards. Inhale, reach up and back. Exhale, press the hips towards the front edge of the mat. So always moving with the breath. The inhale creates space, and the exhale allows us to move into that space. Just a few more breaths. Feeling that opening through the front of the right hip. And exhale, release the right hand down to the floor. Look over the left shoulder, bend up the back knee, catch a hold of the foot. Again, if you can't quite grab the foot, just take your strap around the top of the foot and use it with the left hand. So we should be getting a quad stretch here down the front of our right thigh. One more breath. Releasing the back foot. Frame your left foot with your fingertips, tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, firm up through the feet, look forwards, reach the hands forwards, come up, crescent lunge. So again, we're rooting through the feet, particularly that front foot, as you know that Warrior 3 is coming. Now, if you struggle to balance on the first side, you might want to bring your hands to prayer to heart center before you move. Take an inhale. Exhale, coming forwards, finding Warrior 3. Flexing through the right foot. If you feel like you're opening out, slightly drop the right hip down towards the floor. Keep the breath steady. If the arms are extended, you're going to bring them into prayer at the center of the chest. And then we're going to bend the right knee, draw it into the chest. Keep that bend, but take the foot behind you. Right hand comes out to the side, palm faces up. Left hand reaches high, thumb and forefinger touch. Extend the right hand, but keep the facing of the palm so you're holding onto the big toe side of the foot. Take an inhale to lift. Exhale, we kick back into the right hand and reach forwards, dancer's pose. Doesn't matter how deep you go into this. You might be restricted if you've got a lot of tightness through the front of the right hip and through the quads. You might be feeling quite a deep back bend, that's okay. One more deep breath. Coming up to center, releasing the foot, and again we fold down, finding our forward fold, maybe soften the knees and taking a ragdoll. Take a deep inhale through the nose, sigh it out through the mouth. Take an inhale, halfway lift. Hands down, step back, downward facing dog. Take an inhale, release the right foot, draw the knee towards the chest and plant the foot between the hands, drop your back knee and tuck the toe. We're walking the right foot out to the right edge of the mat, both hands come onto the inside of the front foot, we're into our lizard lunge. So we're inhaling to lengthen through the spine. Now as you exhale, you might stay here. You've also got the option to come down onto the forearms. If the floor feels a little bit too far away, take a hold of your brick. You can take it on whichever height setting works for you and just rest the forearms onto it. So again, we're working into the hip flexors and then down into the quads on the left leg. So with back bends, quite a lot of the time, it's hip extension that can limit us, not so much the mobility or flexibility through our back. So if we start to stretch out through the hips and into the quads, then that can then help us before we move into deeper back bends to find a greater range of motion. One more breath here. Everyone's going to walk up onto the hands. You're going to walk your front foot into the middle of the mat. I'm going to start to walk our hands backwards as we shift the hips backwards. We have a few options. So we might come into Maha Mudra. For Maha Mudra, the right leg is straight. We're sat onto the left heel. We're going to take an inhale and we're going to reach forwards. Now this will target more through the hamstrings on the right leg, but this is good if you're already feeling quite a big stretch on the left thigh. If this doesn't feel so balanced, you can always take a brick and take it underneath the right side of the pelvis. If this feels okay, however, you can start to work backwards into half saddle pose. So we're going to start to walk our hands behind us, so we're opening that angle at the front of the hip. This will feel quite intense if we have quite tight quads. If this doesn't feel comfortable on the ankle, what we can do instead is walk the foot out towards the side so our pelvis is rooting down to the floor. And again, same thing, we can walk backwards. If you're feeling quite loose, you might walk all the way down onto the forearms or even further onto the floor. But it's okay to stay a little bit more upright with this one. Just a few more breaths. If you've walked yourself down onto the floor, you're going to bring yourself up to center. I'm going to start to take the weight forwards, plant the hands into the mat and step back, downward facing dog. So coming into our left side, picking up the left foot, draw the knee to the chest, plant the foot between the hands, drop the back knee, untuck the toe. From here again, we're walking left foot out to left side and hands are coming onto the inside of the front foot. Inhale to lengthen the spine and exhale, maybe staying as you are, maybe bringing the forearms to the mat or maybe onto a brick. One thing to be aware of in lizard is what the head's doing. Quite often we drop the head, but you can see when I drop my head, my back starts to round out and my hips lift up out of the stretch. So although it feels like we're moving deeper because the head is moving closer to the floor, actually we're losing the hip flexor stretch. So instead, keep the head in line with the spine, inhale, lengthen, but exhale, press your chest forwards towards the floor and the pelvis. And this will help you to find the hip flexor stretch. One more breath here. Coming up onto the hands if you're not there already. Walk your left foot into the center of the mat. And again, we're walking the hands backwards as we shift the hips backwards. So again, we have our options. We could stay in Maha Mudra and start to lean forwards. If you feel comfortable just sitting upright, you can stay there. If we're feeling a little bit imbalanced, we could take a brick underneath the left side of the pelvis to support us. We might start to walk our hands backwards to open out through the hips. And again, you might walk your right foot a little bit wider so you can drop your hips all the way down to the floor and then start to walk backwards. How far you walk back is up to you, making sure you can keep that deep belly breath. Now this might be quite a big posture for some of us as we're coming into hip extension, but also quite deep knee flexion. And if these aren't positions you regularly take your body into, it might feel quite tight and stiff. That's totally normal, just stay with the deep breath. Walking yourself up to center. From here, we're going to start to shift the weight forwards, plant the hands to the mat, tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, step back, downward facing dog. We're going to inhale and roll forwards, find a high plank position. Everyone together is going to lower down for 4 counts. So take a deep inhale, exhale, bend the elbows, hug them into the chest for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Releasing down to the mat. Untucking the toes, we're going to take the hands behind us alongside the body. We're moving into some back bends, and the first one is locust. So we're going to inhale, lift the head, shoulders, arms, and then squeeze the glutes, lift the legs. Now we're looking to find length through the body here. We're not looking to bend ourselves as deep as possible. As we inhale, reach the crown of the head forwards and reach the toes behind us. Exhale, we start to settle into the posture and see if we can start to raise the thighs off the floor. Inhale, extend. Exhale, settle. 2 more breaths. So again, we should be feeling those 2 long cables of muscle either side of the spine starting to engage. Slowly softening down to the mat, right ear comes to the mat and shift your hips side to side. Bringing the head back to center. Our second back bend is bow. Now you've got two options here. Traditionally, we take bow by bending both knees, taking the hands to the outside of the ankles. Inhale, we kick back into the hands, and that lifts the chest. Now, if this feels like it's going a little bit too deep for this moment in time, you can always take it one leg at a time. So you'll bring the right forearm in front, take the left hand to the outside of the left ankle. We inhale, kick back into that left hand, so we just feel this on one side. If you're going one leg at a time, it's 3 breaths on each side. If you're going 2 legs at a time, it's 6 breaths in total. So finding your position, inhale, kick back, that will lift your chest. So the likelihood is you're feeling quite a big back bend, but you're also probably feeling a lot of hip extension and a stretch through your quads. Staying with the breath. And slowly releasing down. Keep the knees bent. Bring the hands in front of you to make a pillow for the head, and just take your feet from side to side to release through the lower back. Extend the legs out long. Hands come underneath the shoulders. Press back, find a child's pose, but then walk yourself up to a seated position. So our final posture that we're coming into for our back bends is camel. And it's quite a big back bend, and we have a few variations. So I'll show you the first 2 you can choose from. So to set up, you want to come a little bit further forwards on your mat, and we're stacking the knees underneath the hips, and then the heels are in line with the knees. We're going to tuck the toes to lift the heels a little higher, and the hands come to the lower back, so the thumbs are either side of the spine. We're wrapping the elbows behind us. We're going to inhale, we're going to lift the chest, and I'm squeezing my glutes and sending the hips forwards. So it's an idea we've already worked with. The inhale lifts me up out of my pelvis, exhale, hips go forwards. We could stay here for our first variation, or we might take the second variation where we lift one hand high, hold it up there for a few breaths, bring it down, and then swap sides. To come out, make sure both hands are to lower back, and then you lift up to center and sit back on the heels. So this is our first set, and we're going to take 2. So if you do know a deeper variation of camel, I'd recommend you take one of these first 2 variations, as we are going to take another set. So coming on up, tucking the toes, hands to lower back, take an inhale, lift up out the pelvis, exhale, squeeze the glutes, send the hips forwards. Maybe staying here, you've got 4 more breaths. So you might choose to lift one arm up, hold for 2 breaths, and then swap to the other side. Remember, replace the hand onto lower back before you lift the other hand up. Inhale, lift up out of that pelvis. Exhale, squeeze the glutes. Keep sending the hips forwards. And as you're coming out, both hands are to lower back. Bring the chest up to center, untuck the toes, and sit back onto the heels. So just stay here in this neutral spine position as I show you the next variation. So to move deeper into camel, we're going to take the inhale to lift up. We're going to reach our right hand high. Then we're going to take it behind us to drop it down onto the heel. You then might take the second hand up, reach it back, drop it to the heel. Now what's really important here is my hips aren't coming backwards. This puts a lot of pressure into the fronts of the thighs and into the knees. Instead, hips go forwards and we lift up out of that pelvis. To come out from here, bring one hand to the lower back, then the other, come up to center, untuck the toes, sit back onto the heels. Now you don't have to go into this variation, you have those first 2 to choose from as well. Everyone's going to come up, tuck the toes under, hands to lower back, inhale, lift up, exhale, hips forwards. If you're coming with me into this new variation, reach your right hand high, circle it back, place it to the heel, then left hand, take it to the heel. Keep sending the hips forwards, keep trying to lengthen through the spine. If you feel that you want to move deeper, you might untuck the toes so the feet go flat, but you still want to keep sending the hips forwards. This is just going to take you into a deeper back bend. You've got 2 more breaths. To come out, bring one hand to lower back, then the other. Come up to center, untuck the toes and sit back onto the heels. Just take a moment here, allow the spine to release. It's always good after a big back bend to release in neutral before we come into spinal flexion. And then we're going to bring the big toes to touch, knees go wide, reach the hands in front of you, drop the head to take your child's pose. Really releasing the weight of the torso down towards the ground. Walking up to center, send the hips over to one side, the legs out in front of you, and we're going to come down onto our back. So coming down onto the back, we're going to come into a twist to finish us off. So right knee in towards the chest, take the left hand to the outside the right knee, draw it across the body, extend your right arm out and look out over the right shoulder. Think about breathing into the right side of the rib cage. And as you exhale, soften into that twist. Coming back to center, swapping sides, extending the right leg out long, drawing the left knee into the chest, right hand comes to the outside the left knee, left hand out to the side, draw the knee across the body, and then look out over the left shoulder. Again, we inhale, breathe into left side of the rib cage, and exhale, soften into the twist. Final breath. Rolling back to center and finding your Shavasana. So extending the legs out long, backs of the hands on the floor, closing the eyes and enjoying these last few moments of stillness. Now as you lie here, just notice how you feel energetically. Typically, back bends tend to make us feel a bit more energized, a bit more awake and alert. Physically, how do you feel? Do you feel a bit more space in the hips and in the back? Maybe a sense of openness down the whole front side of the torso. And then just check in with your mind. How busy is it? Have you managed to slow it down? Start to deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Reach the arms overhead, full body stretch. Then draw the knees in towards the chest and take a little rock and roll from side to side. When you're ready, rolling to one side, pushing up to a comfortable seated position, keeping your eyes closed. Once you're seated, bring the hands to prayer and heart center. Take an inhale, lengthen through the spine, and exhale, bow the head down towards the prayer. Take a moment to be grateful for your practice, for taking the time out of your day to breathe, to move, to check in with the mind and body. Come back to your intention, the reason that brought you to the mat today. Take the thumbs, the space between the eyebrows, the third eye. Practice, and all is coming. Namaste. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully you feel a little bit more awake, a little bit more open through the hips. I'll see you on the mat again soon.